Zelensky's forced to grow up. Yep, he did. He had to wear a suit and tie today, or yesterday. It was fantastic. He looked like a chubby kid going to his first wedding or something. It was hilarious. I'm going to go break down what happened in the talks, why it's very good. There's a lot of people. In fact, there's one out there, Little Stick, if you're there. This one's for you. Ukraine is basically having to capitulate. Russia's already agreed to capitulate. The EU looks like they're going to capitulate. Everything looks like it's falling in line for peace within the next 2 weeks. That's what I wanted to talk about mainly today, but that's essentially the highlights. The talks went very, very well. There was a lot of rigmarole regarding a break in the discussions, which is hilarious because Trump already knows what Putin wants. They've already had some sort of agreement. Trump already knows what Russia's BATNA is. Trump already knows that Putin has agreed for certain concessions. All he needs out of it is the EU. So the moment that the EU essentially agrees to get Ukraine out and not have Ukraine part of NATO at all, in other words, stop trying to absorb them, that's going to be the red line for Russia. Russia has always said for decades that Ukraine being part of NATO was a red line for them. But yet we kept pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. And that's all they've wanted. Now, of course, they get part of the Donbass. Well, we're going to look at that. And per usual, we allowed ourselves to be cucked by Israel. The question is why, especially given the crimes associated with this certain individual. I mean, Israel's not our daddy. So why are we allowing their degenerates to run free and rampant in the U.S.? Good question. And then we've got some easy wins today. Really want to talk about DOGE, because again, DOGE hasn't been in the news a lot. Want to revisit with them, show what's going on there, and then look at the wins going on with DC. There's a couple of funny things happening with DC. You go look at a lot of the protests, they're all white. DC is like 90% black, dudes. So who do you liberal libtards think you are? You're not protesting for the people who actually live there. If you go look on TikTok and you look at the people who actually live in Washington, D.C., they're pretty happy with what's happening. Because, again, you get a small minority who are committing the vast majority of crimes. Once you sweep them up, guess what? Things start getting better very quick once you actually start enforcing the law. It's amazing how that works, enforcing rules that everybody has to follow. It's amazing. All right, so let's get into the fantastic stuff that has happened yesterday regarding Trump, Zelensky, and the EU. Really, like the representative of the EU, Macron, and a couple other, Italy, Germany representative, whatever. They don't really count. The key issue is the Donbass. The Donbass is this segment right over here. But then you've got this other piece over here toward the Black Sea, and then, of course, Crimea. So specifically right now, Russia is wanting all this. All that. They don't have that right now. I think what's happening is Putin knows that he's not going to get all that, but what he really wants is this line right here. He wants these regions. He's not going to get everything, and I think he's pulling a Trump art of the deal. Ask for way more than what you want, so it looks like you're conceding something when in reality you didn't really want this section anyway. He wants access to the sea. He wants access to the energy here. Will he get it? Who knows? He will definitely get a good section of this. Already, they know he's going to get this. They know he's got crime. He already has those. So what he's asking for, he already owns at this point for these sections right here. The rest of this is what he will probably get, at least some section of it. It's probably what's going to happen. They have to give up some territory. Russia has strategic positions all across there. They're dug in. They're not going anywhere. The battlefront, the battle lines have not really changed for the past year or more. NATO, this is the interesting thing. This is the big thing that Putin has acquiesced on. This is huge. Initially, it was a red line for him to have NATO troops in Ukraine. That has now changed. He will allow troops, peace protection people, UN, peacekeeper, whatever you want to call it, U.S. troops in Ukraine to keep the peace and solidify Ukraine's borders. It's amazing how borders work, right? And that's currently the agreement. That's huge because initially that was a non-starter for Putin. Somehow Trump has convinced Putin, no, you've got to let troops in. But guess what? We're going to prevent Ukraine from building up their military, maybe. Who knows? But that is still huge. The other piece is that the EU now has to agree to, and that's this one right here. EU has to quit trying to get Ukraine to be part of NATO. That's been a non-starter since the 90s. All right. Talked about this earlier. Trump paused negotiations with Ukraine. When this happened, the media went nuts. Oh, Trump had to go talk to his handler. He had to go talk to Putin. When you know what the other party wants and you're talking to the other party and you're negotiating, you're acting as a moderator. You already know what Putin's baton is and what he wants. You're now going to the EU and you're trying to get them to where you're in some range of an agreement. The moment Trump was able to get some concessions from the EU, that's when he went to Putin and was like, look, they're cool about Ukraine having troops in there. They're going to stop trying to get Ukraine to be part of NATO, but they now need these things from you. That's what happened. That's what happened. Trump got them to where they needed to be within range for peace talks. He then had to go to Putin and see if Putin would acquiesce on the remaining items that they could deal with. And we've got some theories on what those remaining items are. Talks are to be resumed, and there's going to be a third meeting. Fox News has now confirmed that the third meeting between Russia, Ukraine, and the U.S. are expected to be in the next 2 weeks. So we could see an end of the war potentially by the end of the month, which would be fantastic to see people stop dying and the rebuilding of Ukraine. Just, wow. It's been a long time, and it's been a disgusting, horrible war for these people. And the rebuilding is going to happen. You guarantee there's going to be a lot of corruption going on there. It's probably, I feel like that may have been part of the whole idea, is destroying another country, because Afghanistan's gone, right? Well, if you destroy another country, now you can do the nation building again and start funneling money there. It's interesting how that works. As soon as Afghanistan closed, another new country now needs U.S. support for the next 10 years to funnel money into. Where do you think the majority of that money is going to go, given that Ukraine has been, will be, continue to be one of the most corrupt countries in the world? Just a food for thought. All right. Fantastic. This is true. Trump did demand that Zelensky wear a suit. Now, here's the rumor mill. It is rumored that Zelensky showed up in a tracksuit. That was the rumor, and Trump immediately forced him to go change clothes like the little toddler that he is. And he did, and he showed up without a tie, and he did get made fun of about not wearing a tie. Anyway, it's rumored that somebody in the Russia camp that was a pseudo advisor representative mentioned that, hey, if Putin is able to get if Zelensky's able to tie a knot on a tie, Putin would cut a deal right now. We know that's not going to happen, but that would be hilarious. Currently, there's no ceasefire. The media is running with this right now. No ceasefire, no ceasefire. Yes, there's a reason why there's no ceasefire, because both groups are continuing to go at it. Right now, during the actual talks and before the Putin talks, Ukraine launched an offensive, and I specifically called that out, into Russia and into the Donbass region. Zelensky was literally shooting areas that he knew he was going to have to let go. Like, I'm going to tear this up so you don't want it anymore. Like the childish, insolent brat he is. That's what happened. Russia then did a counteroffensive. And now there's more attacks going on. Specifically, during the talks, Zelensky had drones go out and attack the Hungarian-Russian pipeline. Infrastructure destroying, I don't want to say if you want to say eco-terrorism, but there you go. Not only that, we have Russia has aspirations for more territory. This is what the media is running with right now. The media is basically hyping all this up. Russia is not going to get any more territory, not unless they really push, and that's not going to happen. All their pushes thus far have not really equated to any serious gains. Russia has been hurting. Ukraine's been hurting. They're both dug into this front line right here, this battle line, and they're not going to be moving. The press is currently sowing doubt of a deal. They are. All the liberal media, all the liberals out there, yeah, little stick, talking about you, are absolutely going nuts because Trump's doing what he said he would do. He's bringing an end to the war that happened under the Biden regime that should never have started. These people should not have to have gone through this. Rumor mill. So this is the current rumor mill. None of this is confirmed. The rumor is that the U.S. has threatened to depart NATO if they don't capitulate. The EU does not capitulate. That's a pretty big stick, and given how Trump's record has been, I would not be surprised if that literally came up saying that, look, guys, either you do what I say, or I'm just going to pull the plug on NATO, and we'll let you guys sort it out. Wouldn't be surprising. I would love it if we pulled out of NATO. That'd be fantastic. But I don't think that ever came close to happening. And more than likely, Trump used it as a stick to try to get the EU in line. More than likely, there's some truth to this, but very nascent, not really sure. And then Russia is rumored to receive billions from EU. So the idea being floated is that in order for the Ukraine to get back maybe either this territory or part of this territory, is that the EU froze hundreds of billions of dollars, I believe probably including the US, of Russian rubles, that Russian or dollars that Russia owns throughout the world in all the banks right before when the war started. That was pretty dumb of Russia. They should have pulled all their money out. But regardless, there's still billions upon billions of dollars that are Russian assets that are frozen throughout the world. The rumor mill is that part of the agreement is that Russia will get that money back in exchange for the territory lines being drawn a little bit more closer to where they don't want them to be. We will see. But those are the most current legitimate rumors going on right now regarding this deal. Yeah. Now, on to something that is disgusting, vile, and awful. There is a PDFer on the loose from Israel, and Israel essentially allowed them to come back home. So there is a senior official in Israel's cybersecurity agency that was arrested in Vegas. He was trying to use the internet to lure a child for S abuse, only to be released on bond, and then immediately ran to Israel. What's disgusting about this is that they had them red-handed. Text, totally had him. He was dead to rights. They grab him. He does his one phone call. He calls his buddies in Israel because guess what? That special team he's on reports directly to Netanyahu. Not saying that's who he called, but he called somebody high up. They got him out under the pretext of diplomatic immunity, under the agreement that he would probably stay for trial. He didn't stay for trial because he's guilty. He immediately ran to mama back to Israel. Israel's notorious for being difficult to extradite these PDFers. I don't know why we allow this to continue. If you commit a crime like this does not grant you diplomatic immunity. That can be yanked out from under your chair. But what's disgusting about all this is that even with all the evidence that initially came out, Netanyahu came out and personally stood by this man and then now has backtracked. Look, guys, I'm not saying Israel shouldn't exist, but we should not be supporting this type of BS going on by any country. Imagine if this was any other country besides Israel. Just like when racist stuff happens to white people, if you imagine any other race being put in there, that position, and you're like, yeah, that would be disgusting, but it's okay for whites. No. Just like this. If it was any other country that did this, you would be just as upset. Okay? All right, let's get into some good news now. About 123 wasteful government contracts valued at more than $5 billion canceled. $200 billion in government spending has been saved by DOGE, and that is awesome. Going back on this, where Elon got really upset, the big beautiful bill, again, was it just extended the Build Back Better bill. It was an extension of it. That's all it was. So there's a ton of pork stuffed into this that is absolutely disgusting. But the good news is that DOGE has been able to slowly cut it back through rescission packages. That's where they take, because again, the president doesn't have line item veto, but they're able to take chunks of money that are allocated to certain contracts or obligations, send it to the Senate does a quick up-down vote and is able to carve those back. There's been approximately $200 billion saved. That is fantastic. Of course, we would love to see $1 trillion. So, but still, 20% is good. You know, that's a good start. Hopefully, this will continue to ramp up. Trump right now's approval rating in D.C. has continued to go up. So maybe we can get more clout and continue to push these awesome wins forward, and Doge can get some more wins done. Right now, this is awesome. Want to show what happens again when you arrest the degenerates who are committing the majority of the crime. DC crime since the announcement of federal control versus 7 days ago. Robbery down 46%. ADW, oh my goodness, I don't even know. Carjacking 83%, car theft 21%, violent crime 22% as a whole, property crime 6%, all crimes down almost 10%. Wow! Again, it's amazing what happens if you just enforce the laws that are there. It's almost like when you enforce a border, people stop coming across it. You see how that works, rainbow hairs? You see how that works? It's almost like if you're principled and you stand up for what you believe in and make everybody follow the rules, no matter their color, race, or creed, things get better. What's telling is, I believe it was Mayor Bass out in LA, specifically said the quiet part out loud. They said that these laws are specifically targeting black and brown people. It's almost like she's openly admitting that the laws that people are breaking are black and brown people. I wonder if that's a cultural issue. Could be. Could be. Just saying. I say if we all follow the rules, we can all get along. Well, that's mouthy. Dig you later.